fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy that these people are gaslighting us.
But they can't move him out. Right? If they move him out, they got to move Kamala Harris out, right? Or they've got to elevate her to the top of the ticket,
which is nuts.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Well,
no one's. You have to be the nuttiest fucking Democrat, and I know a few. I know this one nutty Democrat that I guess I'm kind of friends with. I see him, I'll say hi. But this motherfucker's a Kamala Harris fan. You know, thank you, Madam Vice President. Like, he's one of those.
How do you get to that point?
You're retarded.
Yeah.
You just completely give in. There's no critical thinking at all, and you're just fucking blue no matter who.
Yeah.
You ride or die.
Well, that's what I assume that they've looked at the scenarios and they thought to themselves, we can't have Biden step down and put somebody else at the top of the ticket. So we've got to clear the ticket entirely. Right? Because we can't run Kamala Harris as the presidential candidate.
No.
So, and we certainly can't bring in Newsom, a white dude, to run the top of the ticket and keep her in place, right? That's not an optic they're willing to put up with.
She's just not valuable in that spot. She doesn't gain confidence that we'll have a great vice president if he kicks the bucket. And, bro, how are they keeping him alive?
Yeah.
What are they giving him, and where do I get it?
Well, she'll be president.
What do I get? What do I get when he's on?
Yeah.
I want to try it. As an able-bodied man of complete control of my cognitive functions, I'd like to know what that fucking cocktail's like.
I was going to say the cocktail that they gave him before the State of the Union address.
Yeah.
Whatever they gave him then, right, that fired him up just long enough to make it through.
Just long enough. Boy, he must have slept for a week after that. I bet.
God.
I bet it's some high-dose stuff, whatever it is, and I bet it feels great.
Yeah, in the moment. And then I think there's probably a come down.
Oh,
but,
boy. Yeah.
But so she'll be president. This is my theory.
That's crazy.
I know I've lost a bet with you before on Trump, but I worry that. Look, I think. The Republicans can't really go after Biden's age completely, only because Trump is 78.
Right, but he's not as
absolutely
compromised.
Not. Right, and that's absolutely true. But I think that what's going to happen is that you have to have a perfect storm for Trump to win in terms of the independents, right, and suburban moms, and you have to have enough people come back into the tent, right, to vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I have enough confidence that that's going to happen. So we end up with President Biden and Harris again, which means we will have President Harris. I hate to say that, right? You wish well on everybody, right? Good health and all that.
But come on.
Come on, please. Are you kidding me?
Come on.
It's not going to. 2 years into this next tenure,
but
she's president.
Trump ahead in a lot of polls in swing states?
He is, but I don't know that I'd make bank on polls nowadays. I think it's. This is going to sound like I'm going off topic, but after the 7 October attacks in Gaza, I think that the survey was done in maybe January and February timeframe. They released it in March. So a Palestinian research center based in Ramallah, I think, in Gaza. I forget where it was, but anyway, they ran a survey. And according to this poll that they did of residents of Gaza, over 70% supported Hamas's 7 October attacks, right?
70%.
Over 70% supported Hamas's attacks. It was a minuscule amount that thought that Hamas was responsible for their troubles, right? It's like less than 10%, I think, that thought that Hamas was responsible for all the chaos now happening, right? Despite the fact of what they did, but they supported what they did according to the poll. Now, you peel that back and you think to yourself, okay, well, first of all, the survey was done in Gaza. So somebody knocks on your door and says, do you support Hamas's actions on 7 October? What the fuck do you think I'm going to say?
Right.
Of course I'm going to say yes.
Right.
It's kind of like if you walk up to somebody in San Francisco in a crowded street and say, do you support President Trump? No. So I don't know that people are particularly honest at times in surveys and polls,
especially in these circumstances.
In these circumstances, but you're right. Most surveys, most polls show him, some points ahead. And don't get me wrong. I'd love to see less regulation. We got all sorts of problems on the economic front, and one thing we could be doing as a government is peeling back some of the regulatory environment that's fucking us over, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of ways, not just the economy, but it impacts our national security down the road, right?
How much when you hear about shenanigans when it comes to voting, when you
Yeah.
hear about like particularly corruption involved with mail-in ballots, it seems to be a sticking issue with people.
Yeah.
How much of a security issue is that? Like the mail-in ballots thing?
Yeah, look, if there's an opportunity for fraud or chaos, some people somewhere, whether Democrats or Republicans or whatever, if there's a fraud opportunity, there will be an element that will try to play off of that, right?
Especially if they think that it's imperative that this happen for this future of democracy.
Future of democracy.
Yeah.
It's, oh my God, I'm saving the country.
Yeah.
Despite what I'm doing. So, there's
Despite
that
what
potential.
you're doing being very un-American.
Right, exactly.
You're engaging in voter corruption.
So I don't have any insight or inside information about to what degree there's a problem with mail-in ballots and voter fraud. But to me, I tend to be a little more simplistic. I remember a lot of elections where you just show up, you show your ID, you fill out the form, and then by that evening, you found out who won. Right? It didn't seem to be that complicated.
Right.
And nobody seemed really disenfranchised. Right. So I would like to see us just go back to the normal way of voting. Right. And
do we vote on it? Like,
Yeah.
how do people decide whether or not mail-in ballots are appropriate? Because the reason
Yeah.
why they were there in the first place was COVID.
Right.
But now that it's there and it's set up,
Yeah.
now there's this resistance to get rid of mail-in ballots. But if that is the thing that keeps us closer to corruption, and it seems to be, that's the thing that's an element that you can fuck with.
Right, and you do this all the time in the business environment or whatever. You look at your protocols in place. You remove lack of controls where fraud could seep in. Right, it's a common thing. You don't. It shouldn't be difficult. But so then you have to look at it with some skepticism. Right. Are you genuinely concerned that somehow there were vast swaths of the population that were disenfranchised and not able to vote? Right? Or just can't get themselves an ID, right? Which I think is an insulting stance to take for a lot of people. But you're not. I'm sorry, you're not smart enough to get yourself an ID.
But you need one if you have a vaccine.
Yeah, but you need one if you have a vaccine,
if
or you
want
need
to
one.
work.
Yeah, or from Sam's Club.
You want to feed yourself.
Yeah.
You need one, but you don't need one to vote because that's racist.
So exactly.
Or something.